I'm Cesar de la Cruz here with the Tolleson-Mack podcast. And Brandon, I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about our sponsor, the Turtle Box.
Turtle Box, yes,
What do you
sir.
know about them guys?
Man, they've been real generous to us and helping us out, giving us a couple, and we're gonna promote the shit out of them for them because they're some awesome products called turtlebox.com. It's outdoor speaker, go in water and swamp and snow. It's perfect for a team roper.
Right there. Put it next to the header's box and play your best tunes you got.
Yes, sir.
Unrelated, I was at my buddy's house and he had a turtle box. Freaking horse spun out of the box, kicked it halfway across the arena. Music never stopped.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm talking about.
They're gonna like that plug.
We got Tristan Mahoney in the house.
Heck yeah.
And I really wanted to bring him on and talk a little bit about Bits and his company. But to start off, maybe let's how did it all start for you?
Well, as far as the bit and spur game.
Well, like your whole maybe rodeo career, and maybe we can work up until.
All right, yeah. So Tristan Mahoney with TM Bits and Spurs. We'll just start at the beginning, like Caesar said. I came up through. I was born in New Mexico, but basically raised in Arizona. Came up through all the junior rodeos, the AJRAs, Arizona High School Rodeo. Went to college a little bit at CAC. That wasn't a long career. We can get into that later. Circuit rodeo, got out of the circuit a little bit, tried them on a little bit. Mainly amateur rodeoed with my wife, though. We seem to make more money because she ropes better than I do, and
Rope's good.
And yeah, so we can get into all of that.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I feel if you're gonna be buying a bit or using a bit, we need to get somebody that understands the game, roping, riding. We talked a little bit about who's somebody you looked up to as far as bit makers.
Well, I learned most of my stuff from Gordy Alderson. As far as the mechanics of making the bits, the technical aspect, and he's that dude ropes really good. He almost made the finals back in the calf roping, and he gets the horsemanship side. But more than anything, I've looked up to a lot of horsemen to guide me through like what these bits do, what we need to what we're after when we're building them, so on and so forth. Because I feel like it's easy. Like Brandon calls me, he's like, "Hey, my horse, he's squatting in the corner. What kind of bit do I need?" And it's like, well, I could sell him a bit that I'm gonna say fixes his problem, but it's way better if he can horsemanship his way out of the problem. You know what I mean? Because it's not like different bits do different things, and they definitely have specific purposes, but at the end of the day, like you got to be using them correctly. You got to, you're the one on top of them. It's just a piece of metal and a curb chain that's basically essentially a leverage trap in their mouth. Like that does different stuff, but you got to use them right.
Right. I you're talking about some great horsemen and stuff. I had to learn a lot when I started showing these horses, and it was a lot different game than the rodeo game for sure. And so I was learning about how when you're bringing your elbows back, that means to back up. But you can actually make your horse stop by lifting your left hand up, sitting down in the saddle.
Yeah.
Make your horse stop real pretty like the reiners do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
You never see them guys really pull on those horses a whole lot, and they're sliding around and moving around really nice. But the elevation, how they lift up their left hand and just kind of moving them from right to left, almost like Miles Baker talks about keeping their hands are almost in a little square.
Yeah.
But it's with their legs and stuff like that too.
They ride them with their whole body, and that was a light bulb moment for me when it's like trying to make my horse flex, and I'm like I got my hands down by by my saddle horn or whatever, cantle swells. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't make saddles, and like I'm trying to seesaw his head down, and good friend of mine, Brian Anderson, Tucson guy, really great horseman. He's like, you can turn your palm up and lift up, and then it'll come down, and it worked. And then you start thinking about like the mechanics of how a bit is built, and it's like, yeah, you are getting better leverage on them if you lift up. You engage the curb chain better. You engage the mouthpiece better. It's
So you mean like instead of pulling back, you pull up and it mechanically does the bit's job it's supposed to do?
I mean, as far as like if you're trying to make one flex, yeah,
Yeah.
that like that
I gotcha.
the bit works better to make one flex if you go your palm up and you lift straight up.
Oh, okay.
Just
Rather.
how them bits work. The heavier type, you got the ones with rollers, spades, and all these kind of different bits and
Yeah,
different type higher shanks and stuff. Those guys, there's different cues for that kind of stuff.
absolutely.
And like to get one to flex, a lot of people think they got, like you talked about Seesaw, Brad Lund and Dakota Kircheslager, they were talking about you need to really wrap your legs around the horse and squeeze with your legs and almost try to almost squeeze the air out of them, and they'll bit up a little bit more if you lift up your left hand just like this. You can be real light with your left hand and use your legs to make that sucker bit up. And I'm like, man, I was doing it wrong all these years.
Yeah.
Rodeoing, like I was making sure my left hand was always, moving my horse over was my left hand. Actually, we can talk about this too. Like the steer stepped off to the left, I would really rein over there to the left, and all that does is just makes the bit work opposite that way, right? It
Yeah.
pulls the right shank, and it's going to pull your horse's nose to the right.
Yeah, because it's wherever your rein pressure's hitting first, and you're dragging it across. You're putting way more freaking pressure on that right bit shank, and
So you should have been using
I-
your feet.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get angry at my horse for running by the corner. It was my fault. I had him kind of his body wasn't set up for the shot.
So after you figured this stuff out, is that when you started like going and hanging out with
Yeah,
Dakota?
because you ride the show horse.
Yeah.
You ride a 4-year-old that doesn't know what the
Yeah.
hell you're doing. Like he's a show horse, so you're supposed to lift him up and then
Yeah.
use your right leg to make him go that way.
But was that like a
Dumbass is what he'd say to me. I'm like, man, that makes sense. I was
Well, that's
doing it
what I'm
wrong all these years. You're saying
Was that like
Yes.
a moment to you? Like I've been
Yeah.
in it for 9 fucking times, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you're kind of like
It's a
felt
different-
behind the curve.
the
a
show
little bit?
horse game.
Yeah.
The Tristan can talk about is a totally different world. Even the calf rope and show horse game is a
dude,
different
it
world.
is so those guys are such next level horsemen compared to you. And like rodeo cowboys get shit on a little bit, like they're not horsemen, and like some of that's earned and deserved.
You're trying to be fast. It's a different deal.
It is like
Yeah.
a lot of guys that have made it in the show horse world can't make it in the rodeo world, and vice versa. It's almost two different sports, but you want to try and apply as much of the show horse stuff, or like being a roper and a rodeo guy. Like I try and apply as much of it as I can and still be competitive.
So like that, a rodeo guy calls you about bits versus a show horse guy. What's the conversation like?
Um, it's much less horsemanship based, with and the show horse guys aren't asking questions like the rodeo guys either. Like they know,
I'm trying to get my horse to stop and pull harder.
Yeah, like
this. I'm trying to get more flex out of him this way. Like that's
Yeah,
what the show
like-
horse guys like.
yeah, the classic, like calf horse guy question is like, hey, my horse is dropping their front end. Like what bit do you make that picks up their front end? Which is tough. There's a few. But that's a tough question because like just mechanically a bit's designed to kind of drag them down. And then your team roper ones, you get a lot of what do I need to pick up their shoulder? He's ducking out. A lot of head shaking stuff in the team rope, and like, hey, I'm pulling on him. He's shaking his head, and it's kind of like, well, kind of pulling on him too much too, So
You
I
can't be
think
kicking
the-
and pulling at the same time.
The art of the bit, going back to like when it was very first, thought of, or whoever, who would have thought that there was that many buttons in one's mouth, a horse's mouth, to make it do all these different things you're saying it can do?
yeah, absolutely. Like
That's
because
crazy to me.
like a little bit of it, like you when you first get into, you're like, this is bullshit, this is voodoo, like
Yeah.
like it's a bit, right? It's something across their tongue or a port that has tongue relief that's hitting the top of their mouth, and it's a curb chain.
Yeah.
Like what do we do? We can't reinvent. You can only reinvent the wheel so many ways, and like partly that's true, but you mess with stuff like the purchase length, the tongue relief, the height of the port, and you start throwing gags and solid bridles and completely solid bridles or swivel shank bridles. Like you can get so many different feels, which is crazy.
Does one bit do more buttons per se, or whatever? Is there a bit that does just kind of that, or is there one that does multiple, like lift its head up, or
Yeah, there's lots of like hybrid bits, right? Like if I was gonna like just want one to drag their ass, right? Like I'm putting a solid port bridle on them, and then, but if I want to add any lateral flexion, the general rule of thumb is the more breaks in the mouthpiece, the more lateral you get. So you can kind of marry that and do some like floating ports or floating spades or something that have a few breaks, but you still have the port, to try and get the best of both worlds,
so it's kind of a different bit for like a head horse that has to go sideways across,
Right.
and a heel horse needs to stop. So it's
Mhm.
different bits for different. I got you.
We
Absolutely.
were talking about that earlier about the correctional mouthpiece, and you said that sometimes, especially in your game, a correctional mouthpiece probably not as good.
That's just a personal feeling, and I feel like bits are personal. Like my favorite 5 bridles I can do anything with and they might be totally different than Caesar's favorite 5 bridles. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we get the same shit done. We just like they're very personal. How you ride, how much hand you use, how much feet you use. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not just like, hey, this chain port is what you need. You need it, I need it, he
Yeah.
needs it. Like it's not necessarily the case.
For me, I got some head horses that I've been working. I got a horse I'm going to show next year.
And a heel horse
And so-
too.
Yep. And yep. And so we got, so I use correctionals on the head horses, short shank. I talked about maybe heavier bars, lighter bars, just to get more flex. And then when I keep them reins the same, I can kind of get a little more, little bit of woe to them. But like chain ports and stuff like that, a chain bit, you're gonna get a lot of like talking about a lot of neck flex with those, and you're not gonna. People are maybe trying to stop them with a chain port, and I'm like, man, that's need something that's a little more solid in their mouth to make them stop, because when it's a little quicker, when you go to pull with both reins, it hits them a little faster, and they want to drop with their hind end a little quicker.
Yeah, it's like it's
Seems
tied.
like-
It's tied to your hand better, is what
Yeah.
I feel. There's not
Yeah.
the delay of all that. Like there's so much bend and breaks in a chain port. Like just by the time you get to the end of it, it takes time.
If you have one rein shorter than the other on a chain port,
Yeah.
and you go to pull with both reins and ask them to stop, they're gonna flex, and whatever
Yeah.
whatever rein shorter. So that's kind of why you got to be careful with that. So if you're stopping and stuff like that, heel horse, you're gonna want something a little more solid, keep them straight, coming around the corner a little more, and be able to keep that front end up, be able to be strong whenever they hind end's gonna go down. They're gonna be strong to the horn. Versus a head horse, you want a little more flex. You're gonna ask them to face. You're gonna ask them to bend their neck and their body a little bit more. Heel horses, I think, to make them bend really pretty, it's in their legs, in your legs. And we talked about bits just a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about spurs. You also make spurs as well.
Yeah, so the kid that works for me, his name's Jet Hale. He's funny, and he goes, our logo should be like for your woe and go needs. you got the woe up front, and you got the go down below.
Perfect.
So
They're tools. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't think one bit is gonna fit every single horse. And then I was also we talked about Dakota riding some of his horses. He say, "Hey, pull them spurs off."
Yeah.
Or them spurs are too much. You're gonna need shorter spurs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think it mattered. I would just show up.
I got one set of spurs that have never come off of my boots, right? Like,
I got some that were the shanks were long, and I loved them because they had a wolf howling.
Yeah.
They had saguaro, it had mountains at the back. The coolest looking set of spurs I ever had.
Yeah.
And so I wore them but they were just too much. And Dakota, it's like we started showing horses like, hey, dude,
it's like, bro, especially with them super broke show horses, like,
yeah,
You're probably thinking,
Yeah.
what in the hell?
put them short. But like, talk to us a little bit about that. How that does make a difference as well.
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just all about how aggressive. Like that, the spurs are a little bit more defined black and white, right? Like I make anything from like a 1-inch shank to over 3, and there's a bunch of different size rowels and sharpness of rowels in between. But like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. The shorter and duller, the shorter the shank and the duller the rowel, the less motivation it's going to give one. The less they're going to feel it. And if you get a freaking, like you said, like your set of spurs, big old shanks on them, big rowels, like you're
Go to squeeze your horse, you're gonna make him go forward.
yeah, and like the longer you get, like people hit them with them on accident all the time.
Yeah.
Like I used to ride like a 1.75 inch, like is a real standard calf roper, team roper shank. I used to ride that all the time. Like Gordy made me my first set of spurs when I was 16. I wore that until I started making spurs. I made like the same length of shank, same style of spur, and then I put that one away. But that's all I ever had. And then like I bought a horse from Trevor Brown, and Trevor does a really good job. He gets him really broke, really reactive. Dude, I was hitting this horse with my spurs like I didn't even know it. And so I made myself a little set of short 1-inch spurs that I'm wearing now, and then after that I made about 4 sets of spurs that I'd like to play and turn around with. But yeah, it like I didn't realize like, hey dude, I'm bumping this horse, like especially when you're roping, you're getting up and like in the calf roping, you really get up over the front of your saddle, you're squeezing, you're trying to push him through your throw. And yeah, dude, I was hitting him all the time with my spurs. I'm like,
Especially maybe getting off right there, maybe.
oh yeah,
Squeezing him just a tick right there. With
yeah,
the
like,
foot.
like right as you're pulling your slack, you're freaking jamming a spur into his left side, and then you're
He's
gone,
going-
and he's like, whoa.
but that makes a difference too. Like so Cord Frazano, Tanner Ball, and Dakota, I see them every now and again on them horses. They'll pull the spurs off, and
Mm.
then when they go to show them a little bit, they have a little more fire to them. It just kind of slows their feet down whenever you don't have spurs on. Just kind of gets them relaxed a little bit more, where you can kind of kick them and do whatever you want to a little bit more. And then whenever you do put them spurs back on them, you do get it's a smooth feel because like the horse shows, they want them working pretty and moving pretty, but then about the time they go to stop, they want some dragging,
Yeah, I want some
dragging ass.
fire right
Yeah,
there.
so a little, especially really hitting their hind end right there. So that's kind of where they'll really push them in there in that corner right there with their legs and kind of make them accelerate. And when they say sit down in their saddle and say, "Whoa," it's just awesome to watch. And like we talked a little bit about the show horse and the calf rope inside. I really like watching Haven Medjed show them calf horses. He's a world champ. Yeah, he's awesome, but like he's a good horseman as well as far as the calf rope is
Dude,
concerned.
that dude's an animal, and on the ground, he that's a roping sucker. Like, I feel like there's three guys. Caleb retired, so he's kind of the fourth, but it's Shad and it's Haven and it's Riley and then it's everybody else.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that freaking Haven does a great job with those horses. I don't know much about Haven. I don't know him very well,
I
but
know what hay he eats. Their
yeah.
horses eat.
You can
Shout
get
out
this
to
right
KB
here in
Farms.
Tolleson in Arizona.
Yeah,
Flip Farms.
in-house.
Flip Farms.
It comes from right here.
Yeah, but dude, whoever taught him his deal, like he does it right with the calf horses. He gets their shoulders elevated, he gets their ass up under him. Those suckers stop hard. They come straight back over themselves. Big, powerful. Like they're pulling. Like a horse can move their feet a lot when they're pulling in the calf rope and not move a calf at all. Like his horses, freaking, they take big, powerful steps. And like he's a little guy, like he's my size, and he flanks them like crazy.
There's
But
no problem flanking the horses.
dude, but he it's a lot of equine help. You know, he couldn't do what he does without like good horses.
Yeah,
Horse feed.
touche for sure. I
Yeah,
agree.
keep him looking good, feeling good, working good.
Hell yeah.
That's what it's all about. And then like so for a calf roper like that, say he's riding a 4-year-old, like what kind of bit do you think he's gonna have in that horse's mouth and to take it to a show? Because here and after he shows it his 4, 5, and 6-year-old year, he's probably gonna start pre-RCA rodeoing on it when he's 7.
Yeah, like that horse he rode at the finals last year was 6.
Yeah,
That's freaking nuts.
very
Anyway,
cool.
like I'm just gonna speculate because, like I said, I don't know Haven or his program very well, but like them horses are dirty broke. Like he gets them a lot of them out of those like rein and cow horse programs, and on those type of horses, like I've ridden some of them, and I feel like a solid bridle is gonna be what he's gonna go to. Now he might change it up and put some gag on him or whatever to get him scoring right because it's a little bit easier to have that forgiveness because that calf rope and start it's tricky in the corner because it's so fast. So you gotta be pulling and they got to fire off of your hand because even if it's 2 under, it's only year round, and that on those little calves that squirt so fast that happens in half a second. You know what I mean? So from the time that gates banged it, when you put your hand down, they can't move when the gates bang, and then they have to fire. So
Some of the coolest horses though, right there, they might leave a little bit early. That calf might just not leave, and they'll lift just a little bit, and them horses will bid up,
them ones that can float,
throttle
they're
just a little
special.
bit, and then them guys will just blow it out of the barrier, and them calves right there. But how does
It's different styles. Like Haven's kind of his blast, like Cody Old, dude, he would float pearl. Oh, that was amazing. But like Trevor never did. Like Trevor wasn't a big floater. He was like, I mean, I'm not saying never. Like, of course he did, right? He can do anything.
yeah.
But like he was mainly his horses would freaking fire across the line. You know what I mean? So
It's got to have one that they got to be comfortable with a bit to be able to float right there just a little bit, right?
They got to be comfortable with it. You got to have the right bridle on them. Like then that's when you start talking about like gag bits or stuff that move a little bit, or just a super broke horse that can take you freaking picking up on them without overreacting to it. So you got to find that right combination.
I got probably 100 different bits in my rig that I drive all over the place, but like you never know when you're gonna find one the horse really likes, and then you try to get maybe another one that they really like, and maybe another one that they really like, and if you can get 3 really cool bits that they feel really nice in, you can always kind of, if they ever get maybe to pulling on you a little bit with one bit, you move it to another bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
maybe this one is too much right now, so I'm gonna move it to another bit, and you can kind of keep the horse's mouth soft year round. I think that way.
I'm sure like I've always had the luxury of coming home and working on them, and I'm always I of course I have a ton of bits, and if I think of anything, I can make it. So I got that luxury. But uh, I can imagine being out there on the road year round. You don't get a lot of opportunity to tune on your horse. Like having that 3, 4, even 2 bit rotation would be super important. It seems super hard to keep a horse working for the top
Your
guys.
horse gets strong going down the arena.
Oh yeah.
So like you'll get one that maybe needs a little bit more this week. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then maybe about that time he's getting wound tight and stopping super hard around the corner about the time that sucker hits. So maybe I'm gonna soften up this bit a little bit because he's not really firing down the arena as much. And he's kind of cowing down and wanting to stop now, so I can put a lighter bit on him and maybe kind of can pull on him a little bit more, and he's not gonna less responsive, right? Something a little bit lighter is what I like. But I had Lucky Bucky. I sold him to Junior Again a couple years ago, and that's kind of what I did with him. I had a couple bit rotation with him because that sucker very fast run down the arena. And say I was going to a spot and I went to Cheyenne and you know what I mean, Selena's that week, and next thing I got
and then you're Ogden, and they're just going back to be 4-2. It's like
Napa and the little barn right there the same week. You know, I'm going to use a bit that's got a little bit more pull to it right there, and he's going to back off. As soon as I lift up, he's backing off. Over there with Selena's and stuff over there, you're going to kind of can pull on him, and you're going to have to kind of throttle him around there and ride him, guide him a little bit more with your left hand. Napa, those kind of NFR situations.
Get to the inside, baby.
You don't have time. You're just putting your hand down the whole time and kicking. Hi, I'm Cesar de la Cruz, and we're with the Tolleson-Mack podcast. And today, this episode is sponsored by Flint Farms. The second half of this episode is sponsored by Flint Farms. What do you know about Flint Farms, Brandon?
Oh man, he's just sending hay all around. I always say that, but he's a big influence now in Texas. He's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 different feed stores and big facilities, big tall, exotic game, places like that, and doing all that stuff. So Flint Farms, and also shout out to Benny Mosley over there in B-Dads. He got some hay down there.
South Texas, baby.
South Texas, down there by H-Town, he says. So we've sent some hay to Joe B. I got to put my chest out when I can. I got friends in high places. So I got Joe B. I got Fred's bought 200-300 bells, and Benny's doing good. He's hustling. He's doing a good job down there for me.
Benny's good people. I know Benny.
Yeah. Benny's my milk.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Makes me laugh all the time.
He cracks me up.
B-Dog.
Yeah. What so have you been doing good with the sales, say team roping or calf roping? Who does the best with bits?
Like I started out being a calf roper, knowing calf ropers, like that's who I sold bits to. But numbers wise, it's just a no brainer. You got to get into the team roping world. I've heard, I don't know how true it is, but there's somewhere around 250,000 active not USTRC, now it's global, whatever, like card carrying members. And I don't know the numbers on calf ropers. I'm assuming it's in between 15 and 20,000 in the United States. Like it can't be many. Tops 15, 20, like maybe 10. And so, you definitely gear more towards selling bits to team ropers. It's a numbers game. And like even the cutters, reiners, there's, maybe 30, 35,000 of those. I talked to dude at Bob's Custom Saddles, and that's kind of the number he threw around for like their market.
So
and that's not many people.
Out of the whole Western industry came and fill up the Cardinal Stadium, you're saying pretty much.
I mean, outside of the team ropers, I mean, obviously the team ropers can.
Yeah. 250,000 for team ropers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
250,000.
Oh,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And then, of course, there's 1 million barrel racers, too. That they're probably equal to the team ropers. And I do good with the barrel racers. I make a lot of barrel bits. That's good stuff.
That's cool. Talk about that a little bit.
The barrel bits, they're tricky because they're very opinionated because they're women. And they like what they like, but I've made quite a few for so I forget her new last name, but it's Kelsey Luchin, and she's kind of we've worked back and forth with some, and we've kind of gotten a couple that have seemed to work really well, that the girls like, that I keep pushing and promoting, and of course the thing with the barrel horses, somebody sends me a picture like, hey, can you make this bit, and they're all pretty simple. It's like, yeah, I can copy that. Everything's made out of round stock and just bent different, and it's helpful when they send a picture with a tape measure.
A lot of flex in those kind of bits.
Yeah, tons and tons of lateral. That it seems like every shank has some sort of or gag mechanism on it, some type of gag, and then yeah, very few solid mouthpieces. You know, everything's 3-piece or a chain or a lot of 2 pieces, floating ports, stuff like that. But yeah,
The
lots
day
of
of the Charmaine James are over.
yeah. I don't know what Charmaine was
She
riding
used to
on
ride a
Scamper.
solid mouthpiece
Dude,
on Scamper.
That's rank.
Yeah, no,
That horse was
he
amazing.
rode around like a show horse. Honestly, looked like anyways. His head was down. He'd run. He'd drag his ass. So
Yeah, that horse
I think you can put a bit like that on that horse.
Can you imagine that horse today? Like, I feel like we spoil them too much for them to be that tough anymore.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I
Like
agree.
people are creating problems in these horses. Like we got like, hey, dude, he's not stopping. We got to take him to the vet. Like, well, maybe the prick's not stopping. You know?
Well, Scamper damn sure knew the game because there was
Yeah.
one time with his bit or the head stall.
Oh, I remember that at the
Come off,
finals,
and
and just did it.
If for all those fans out there, if you look up that video, I think it's probably on YouTube.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
that was a solid mouthpiece bit. And that's like I said, horse moved around like the barrels, like she could just like almost like a reiner. He'd spin around and slide around. Them barrels is kind of neat. And she would send him on to the next one. She'd sit down and, kind of like a reiner and kind of guide him with that bit. He'd slide around there. And she didn't pull a whole lot, I don't think.
Dude.
She was just,
and
more like
she
just
an
guiding.
amazing rider.
Yeah.
Amazing horsewoman. Yeah, dude. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Like, what Haley and Sister did was amazing, but their run was 3, 4, or 5 years. Scamper's 10 world championships in a row, right? I was a kid. That was the 90s. I was born in 91, so.
And you brought up both those horses. I mean, I'm going to act like I know everything about barrel racing, but
Yeah.
I think those horses really like the game. I think Sister, she runs.
Craves
I
it.
mean, she'll go through the alley and she shakes her head. She runs through there and just smokes the barrels and acts like she enjoys it. I got to spend a little time, at these rodeos and be around that horse a little bit and going and make the run. She's excited about this thing. Like she is pumped up to go run barrels. And then after the run, Haley, Haley's 100 pounds soaking wet, and this mare, she's a stout, powerful.
Yeah,
cow.
dude, she looks big.
And when she hops off her, throws reins over there and leads her out of there and petting on her, loving on her. This mare likes this. She just did so good. She's so proud of herself. It's just awesome. But I think rodeo horses, they have to like it a lot. I mean, I had a rodeo horse, Johnny Ringo. He'd sit there and watch runs. You can stand him right there, like a hazing horse. He's
Dude,
just
that's
right there,
awesome.
Right there in the barrel. He used to watch the run, and then he'd almost just wait. And then when the team bit back in there, he'd look at the run. He'd watch the run, and like he just loved it. He'd rather be there, stand in the arena, than he would in the stall. He'd be pacing the stall if he.
But then he just stand chill in the arena.
The
That's
funniest
crazy.
thing. He's a funny horse, but yeah, we talk about that all day, I guess. But what do the barrel racers have a style of spur that they'd like to ride?
Not necessarily. I mean, they're just that kind of your standard 1 3/4. They like them pretty. They like flowers.
Yeah.
Soft. Yeah. Some of them like the shanks kick to the inside a little bit, and then a lot of those barrel racers like those bumper spurs, which I don't make, but I get asked about them a lot.
You never made a bumper. You sure? I mean, yeah,
No, I'm good. I sell lots of the other ones. I'm like,
I'll give you one with a short route.
Yeah.
Just give.
Yeah. They look like a pain in the butt, and they're not for me.
What made you get into calf roping as your first love?
Because my parents team roped and I was a shithead. You know what I mean? I'm like, you guys team rope, I rope calves. I'm not doing what you guys are doing.
That's cool.
And his dad could catch 2 feet. I remember when I was a younger guy, the style has changed so much. But when I was coming out, these guys were catching 2 feet. Masters about coming around there and catching 2 feet. And you give Kent third or fourth hop to heel the steer.
Never miss.
He's never, ever gonna miss.
Dude, I pissed him off. I call him kick over Kent.
Well, I mean, yeah, and then that's kind of how my style, kind of evolved a little bit. I was like, man, these guys are catching every time. If I can figure out how to throw a little faster than them and be consistent enough, I could win the roping.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how my style evolved. Because, man, when I was first started, they were catchers. Like, there were just, especially in Arizona, there's nothing but jackpots out here. Like, same thing in the wintertime. It was still like that back then, too. But, like, there were just nothing, just catchers. They'd never miss. I'm like, man, that was awesome. And then nowadays, you see these guys, young guys, how they can be aggressive and they don't miss.
Yeah, you gotta be fast and not miss.
That's the same. It's just same concept. Don't miss, but you throw on the first hop every time.
Yeah, you set
Some
yourself
places
up.
you can't even crossfire, but they are right there, borderline. Hey, man, that was close right there, and they will catch all day long in that spot.
Dude, and these kids that have it figured out so young, I just like it. They got so much talent. It's pretty cool to watch.
We'll
you
talk
know?
about one of your guys that you help out a little bit, Denton Dunning, a little.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
had a
I
great
sponsor
year.
Denton. He's my buddy. Like, so the horse he rides, Bubba, they sent him to me as a 3-year-old to rub calves on. And I told Jake, I was like, dude, he's too young for this. Like, we're pushing him too hard. He says, no, he's a special horse, and he is.
Is this a black horse?
Yeah, yeah. He's kind of a blue roan. He looks black on TV. He's gotten darker and darker, and so he's 3 years old, and I'm roping calves on him, and he was a real deal in the calf roping too. Like, Denton made the high school finals on him and stuff, and so I sent him back. He popped some splints with me because he was 3 and we were using him hard because he had the mind for it, and then so he gave him a year off. He sent him back. I put another couple months on him, and then Denton went to healing on him, and I mean, and he did all that. I just rubbed calves on him.
Yeah, lights out. He's
Yeah.
had a great year. He's finished up at the top. I don't know. Did he get the
He-
rookie of the year this year?
No, it was close. I haven't talked to him since it all ended. He was like 5-10 grand back with.
Logan Moore.
Yeah.
Great healer too. Yes,
But Denton won like 65,000
Yeah.
as a rookie. And his birthday's in February, so he didn't even go in January. You know.
the beauty is he's getting into
Unbelievable.
all the big rodeos next year.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
winter rodeos.
Yeah, he's got Tyler Tryon. That's gonna be ranked.
You know, you can go back at the standings and look at the standings in the PRSA, and then you can move the dial for each year. You can go back all the way to 2009,
Oh, that's cool.
and you can look at the standings after the NFR and see what it used to take to make 15 and what it does now. I mean,
That's
that
not even close. I remember. I think it was 60,000 to make my first NFR. In
Yeah, that was
2006.
always the magic number. Right, 65 is what I always remember hearing. You get 65, you're in.
And then 70, and then 75, and then last couple of years, it's just
They say
crazy.
3 guys with over 100,000 didn't make it in the team roping.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nuts.
That would
Coulter
suck.
had 100,000, didn't make it. He finished up 60.
what's going to happen? Who's going to be Derek's partner?
So Jonathan Torres.
Okay,
Oh, that's
the-
cool.
that's the only
Jonathan's a
kinda
healing
stuff. Unless
sucker.
there's a split going on, they have time to talk about it. I think that's who it's going to be, though. But
Yeah.
yeah, Derek is going to do great with Jonathan. That's a great healer. Awesome.
tough luck, huh?
That's
Damn, but
And against
nature
your
of our
against
game.
your buddy too. That's what's tough. You know.
yeah, in the same rig together, and man,
man. There's no participation trophies for team roping and rodeo in general. I mean, part of it.
I'm-
The
I've-
best person wins.
I'm excited. You know, I'm rooting for Colin now. You know, that big, he's almost a decade break, not making the finals, and he's back. You know, that's
It's pretty smart. He
That's
did good.
pretty cool.
He had a family.
Yeah.
He started his business and stuff. He's got some great horses. That guy. So he's done great.
And always been a healing machine, dude.
He's the same age as me. and
Yeah, I was
just-
gonna say it was him and Nick Sartain. They were winning it when you guys were there, right? They won their world
The
championship.
only time I'd get to see Colin was over there, like in Oklahoma City, once a year. When I started going when I was about 16 years old, and I could see Patrick Smith and all these guys, the young guys, and I got to hang out with the Cooper boys. But yeah, he was pretty ranked. Man,
Yeah.
from
They
the
asked
start.
him. Steve Kenyon asked him. He said, "When you took off this year, was that your goal? Because what he come from like 35th or something to make the finals. After he won all that money."
Shoot, yeah,
was down there.
They went on rampage there the
It-
last month.
And he's like, "Damn right I did." He goes, "I left wanted to make the NFR this year." He goes, I mean, that was like Hail Marys as it gets, though.
Yeah.
like 35 down and come back, but he's like 9th in the world now.
I like his horse. He's got
Yeah.
a really cool horse. He's from the baby. He's had, I think, started him. He was, started going with him as 3 and
I'm
showed
rooting
him. And
Speaking of 35 in a month, I got 2 questions for you that I've always wanted to know. Like, what is the most money you won in like a short amount of time?
Before you say that, on YouTube, there's a guy that you and Dirk are somewhere, and he goes, "These guys have won 98,000 in 24 hours." You know that thing I'm talking about?
But yeah, that was at the finals. Yeah, we that was the most I won in 10 days, and then
You won 98 with Derek one time.
yeah, and then actually
That was your best finals.
that was my best final.
That's amazing.
Sorry,
Oh.
98 was with Coulter, and
Okay.
then I won close to that with Derek. But like the U.S. finals, I won 50 one day, and then 1 second at the BFI with Begay, and won 58 one day. So those were
Like back to
Dude,
back.
that's
back to
right.
back. And then I think so Omaha and was 30.
That's
Bad
amazing.
rodeo
Those
for
those big paychecks. I mean,
I-
and now these kids at the World Series, it's 200,000. Like the Nowlands, they win 200 a man.
So like that's what's neat about the game is evolving
Yeah.
and changing, and I think I'm looking forward to the future. I would like to see the world champions win close to $1 million.
I think Riley won 450 last year in the calf rope, and when it was all said and done,
That's awesome.
There should be a bonus that comes in. You're a world champion. Here's the Ariat bonus for the year, whatever sponsor.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then that
the Tolleson-Mack
Yeah,
bonus.
I don't know.
The squeeze of hay, bro.
You're going for 15th in the world. Man.
We'll definitely hook the
Yeah.
champions up with a squeeze of
World
hay.
champion gets- yeah, I'll do that. But you know what I mean? I think that would make the sport of rodeo kind of more to the mainstream, like more not necessarily legit, but you know what I mean? Brings it up to a different standard. You know, like
Yeah.
these guys are competing for $1 million in the day, not just their winnings.
Well,
Yeah.
PBR kind of showed,
Yeah.
you know, as far as the Western game, and I think they got some shows. The cow horse got where you can.
Yeah,
run
there's
for
that $1 million show that dude that made Yellowstone.
Yeah, Sheridan.
Yeah, Taylor Sheridan.
Yep.
It's funny. We always cuss Taylor Sheridan in the bit shop because he gave Carrie Kelly so much free pub on Yellowstone.
They did.
Yeah.
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 Boomer.
I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't really like him, you know.
No, he's cool. He's helped the industry out a lot.
No,
He
absolutely.
really has, and I think that's pretty important. We got to have more of that. And I think the to go rodeo like these guys are rodeoing, it requires Dustin Egaskiza and Levi Lord had a world record setting year. They come in at 200,000 this year.
That's amazing.
It's unheard of, but like that's what it. I mean, they earned it.
So it
wasn't easy, but it's expensive to go rodeo, and the guys need to keep head horses and heel horses and rigs and.
How much you think they spend out of that 200?
A lot of it.
I mean,
I would say 100 for sure.
I mean, and that's not even including all these horses for $100,000, right? Like,
No, that's just entry fees, and they go
Travel.
jackpotting too, and then traveling and flying.
Jeez Louise. Man.
So that
They
kind of
got
brings
nice rigs too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got $500,000 in this game.
Yeah.
Rodeoing.
That's kind of what was my other question for you. So you're 8 years older than I am, and so you were making it when I was, first getting into high school, and like look up to like you and Coulter and guys like that from Arizona. I saw like I was a little kid at the junior rodeos. You guys were in the 16 to 18.
Almost
it's like
out, yeah.
like you're a little bit odd of people at that stage because I'm 7 years old. I'm like, dude, these guys are up so good, but like I think like nobody really knows outside of the guys that make it like what it actually takes. And I don't know if you would talk about it like financially. I mean, you can tell me to not it's mind my own business, but like I know you didn't have a lot of money growing up, but like what kind of help did you get, or like because everybody's like, you know what I mean? Like what does it take? Like Denton Dunning's gonna bust out. I know his family that they'll help him a little bit, but they don't have a ton of money. Like what's it take for him to be successful?
He's gonna need to and he's a good kid, so he's gonna be able to round up some good sponsors, especially after this year.
Mm-hmm.
And he can talk about what he's doing, and the social media helps out a lot. I needed to be a little more of a businessman and use the social media a little bit better. When I was making the finals and stuff, it would have helped out for the sponsors.
But that was kind of beginning
was just
stages of
started.
social media. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
think nowadays these kids got to get good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fastbacks, the classics, the cactuses, and all these rope companies, they like to have you wear a patch on the shirt.
Yeah.
That's kind of the ropes, right? But you're gonna need to get some kind of, if you can get like a Wesley Thorpe or even a Patrick Smith, he's got Buc-ee's on his shirt.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to get a fuel card. You know what I mean? And then
Like, is that what these guys are getting? Are they getting like I know like the Canadian CVS, you don't pay for fuel in your truck. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, no, it's true. So like a Patrick Smith, I think he does probably the best as far as his sponsors are concerned for team ropers.
Mhm.
He's a businessman. He's done great. His dad's a banker, so he learned how to knows how to talk to people with money, and he's done great with it. Wesley Thorpe's another guy that takes good care of business, and he's a good businessman. He's a great guy. He's been selling a lot of horses and stuff, so that's been helping him keep his money around and stuff like that. But it's a very expensive game, guys. So I was traveling in a camper and 2-horse and making the finals, and I was on my own dime a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can do that now.
Like if you'd ever get to like a point, like I know back against the wall, we need to win or we're going home. If you didn't win, would you actually have to go home, or did you have somebody you could call like, hey, can you float me $2,000?
Man, I'm bad about asking for money.
Dude, it's hard.
I'm horrible.
You have to swallow your pride so bad to do that. Like,
And Coulter and we're best friends, especially rodeo. We spent a lot of time together, so I know exactly how much he had. And he had a family and stuff like that. And there was times where he said, I got to win this week, or else like I can't. We can't go. And Begay, I've had that happen with him too. And it's tough to be rope and broke. nowadays, especially as fast as it's going. You know, when I was broke and I needed to win, if I just kept my head down, took a swing over the back, caught the steer by 2 feet, I was going to win some money.
Yeah, it might be fifth, but we're getting to the next one.
Fourth pays a lot of money at these rodeos. That's what they say. If you can win, you know, Reno, you win fourth. You're doing good. If you can win fourth at Cheyenne, you're doing good. Fourth at Salinas.
Yeah.
So that's making a living. You know, the guys that won first, second, you know, they were kind of blasting cattle. They're making good runs. The guys that were winning fourth and fifth, they were just making sure not to miss. Nowadays, you cannot do that. You have to go at them.
Like pick your spots. Like there's some places like you win 1,500 with the leg.
Depends on what steer you get.
Yeah.
It's like calf roping nowadays. If you have a runner in the calf roping, you got to be fast. You're almost done.
Some of them guys
got to get the low.
Some of them guys will pull up, and I understand it. And dude, calf roping. I mean, I might piss off everybody, but I think the stock contractors, by and large, do just a piss poor job in the calf rope.
100%. I think
it's so tough.
If there was more money in it, you'd have better people. I mean, we've had to take cattle to the rodeos before, and like I thought we did a great job, and we sorted them through and tried to do our best. But then we've took some steers, and man, a couple of them maybe are faster than the others, and there's a couple that are slower than the others.
And it's rodeo. Luck of the draw is a deal. You know what I mean? But when 12 holes are won on 6 calves because there's 2 draws, like that's tough.
I mean, that's how rodeo is. And if we were to sort out and maybe bring pro rodeos, guys, we're bringing the strongest set of cattle to every rodeo we can. I mean, if you pluck out a loper, you got lucky right there. We're going to take that calf off, and these calves are going to go to the next week's rodeo, and we're taking the 2 lopers. Everybody won all this money off, and the strong ones are going to keep going. Strong ones. And I know having that much cattle, you're going to have to send some slow ones every now and again or some weak ones. But I tried to do that one time at a roping, and I tried to sort off the sweet ones for the short go, and they kind of give it up big time in the short go because they stood out there for a couple hours, and then they brought them up, and man, they were just weak. And so I learned my lesson right there. We're going to bring strong ones every time to the short go. We're going to sort them out, and everybody's going to get the strongest 20 in the short go.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they couldn't do that. And I know at the NFR, it's hard to bring, 65 of the same set, especially when they're bringing them from the wintertime and they're hauling them and they get them over there.
So far.
And it's
unless the cattle are coming from Arizona, the climate is so much different in Dallas than it is in Vegas.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. It's
Texas.
cold. It's cold in friggin' Texas and Oklahoma in the wintertime. It's not cold over here.
If the people, would actually know the trail of these steers that have to go to the NFR this year, they went from here to there to there.
We know a little bit. We
I've been
talked to Austin. They
following
went to Mexico.
Yeah,
They started in Mexico, way up in the mountains, and they went to the cross them, and they broke in Las Cruces, and they went here and there. And then now we're trying to get 65 of them to be. Oh. And so at the NFR, they sort through the pins, right? And so I think a lot of these rodeos, it evolved a lot. So a lot of back-to-back rodeos. I like that because if you're dealing with the same set of calves, so if you got 12 guys in that set, they're going to be
at least you can come back to your second round with an opportunity.
You know exactly what it is. And you get into the rodeo and out of the rodeo. I remember going to rodeos and we used to have to be there all week. It's changed a lot. And I listened to a deal with Jake Barnes talked about, and he was the same thing. You can go make runs and get paid, make money.
Well, like guys skip Salinas because you got to be there for 4 days, or you're flying in and out every day.
Right. That's a good rodeo if you're winning, and if you don't do good on the first 2, the guys will turn out their second and third one, or third and fourth one. I mean. And then go to different rodeos. And I know the calf roping, is it 2?
It's just 2 and a short in the calf roping. Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's if you got a runner over there and it's not very good and you miss the first one or break out in the first one. I've seen guys score their horse over there. Salinas, like, he's going to run you way to the back end and you don't really got a chance for the day money over there.
No. Got to draw him over there.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you remember about, I don't know, it's probably been 5, I don't know, maybe not that long, 4 or 5 years ago, I met you on the side of the freeway and we swapped cabs from my trailer to yours with Gitzweiler.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Gitzweiler and Tanner Baldwin had me on some wild goose chase and fly some cows. I was like, hey.
In Marana, right?
No, we were in Vail.
In Vail, okay.
We were I don't know where we were.
I think you guys were coming from Wilcox, And
I went down to buy steers,
yeah,
and
and I
then
met
they're
you at
like,
the Flying J and
yeah,
Eloy.
they're like, "Hey, you have any room?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Hey, throw these cabs on." So I meet this guy over here. So yeah,
Dude,
remember that.
I love Tyler Getzweiler. That was the worst deal I ever did with him. Dude, half them freaking calves died.
Yeah, pink eye and shit.
Dude, they just dropped dead. Like, I'm just doctoring these, like, and it wasn't his fault. They were a good looking set of calves when they showed up. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I lost my ass on that deal. Half of them died. That was
That's
funny.
Shout out to Tyler Getzweiler.
Yeah,
one
he
of
was my
buddies.
buddy.
Wild
Oh
guy.
man.
When I got in the game, like everybody saw me coming. I was green. I didn't know nothing about cattle or nothing. I was just wanting to buy cattle, and he was one of my first buddies. Like, he was cool. I didn't.
Dude,
You know,
best my biggest compliment to Tyler Getzweiler, may he rest in peace, but the horse I got a couple horses from Tyler through the years, and one of them I paid $2,500 for. He's a reigning cow horse, came from Jimmy Paul and them, and he was a little bit crippled, and Tyler's like, dude, he's a real deal, you need to come buy him. He's like, I got him lined up for you. I'm like, okay. So I gave him $2,500, and he had rotated in his coffin bones a little bit, and I got him sound. My cousin and Dale Whitlow helped me with that. They're horseshoeing dudes, man. And he stayed sound for years. And I sold that horse for $40,000 in 14 or whatever. It wasn't quite as much as guys were getting, but it's like back then it was still more. And that's how I built my first house.
That's
like
awesome.
I rolled that $40,000 into my house and set me up really good. You know what I mean?
Started it with a
That's
horse.
awesome.
Yeah, from Tyler Getzweiler.
That's awesome. Frogman.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came over to Jason's in Buckeye. We had a roping over there, and he came, and that day he was on, and I was like, "Who the fuck is that guy?"
Oh, healing motherfucker.
Fuck,
Man,
he was the best healer there that
when
day.
he was on, he was pretty hard to beat, man.
Fuck yeah.
He'd throw it right in the pop every time.
I like him and the Whitlows. I don't know how they didn't make it. They were so rank, you know what I mean? And then it just didn't work out. Like horsepower, whatever you want to say, like it just like
I ask
you
myself
remember
all-
what
I
you
ask myself
remember
all
when
the
they were
time.
coming up, dude.
Yeah. I was a late bloomer, man. Like all these guys were rope better than me, and like it's like, man, I surely thought this guy would make the finals by then, you know. And then Froggy, I thought Froggy would make the finals. He roped with Jake Barnes a lot, and I thought
Who's Froggy?
Getzweiler.
Getzweiler.
Yeah, it's Froggy.
That's his nickname is Froggy. But yeah, and I thought, man, for sure.
Yeah,
And then
dude.
he
I
was-
remember when he got it, dude. It was just like he roped good, and then he got it, and he was just freaking piping him on the corner every single time. I'm like, Froggy learned how to heel.
fired it right there every time, didn't he?
You know who else did that was Colin Teller come out of here, and like he roped good in high school. He made the high school finals, but like he wasn't like you wouldn't think about him that way. And then he went to Texas for a couple years and came back, and it was like, bro,
He does good. He wins the circuit a lot in Colorado.
yeah. I know he's very successful, but you know,
Yeah. It's awesome to see the evolution of it, and we talked about it earlier, man. I don't know. It's been hard to leave the boys this last 4 years. They've been doing a lot of school and stuff like that. We've been going to the rodeos, and it's been fun. But I think you mentioned earlier it takes a lot of time and effort to be a world champion or even make the finals, be even the top 50 in the world, even try to be a number 9 elite healer, 10 healer. It's quite the journey. It's hard. It takes a lot of time. Like you're gonna
full commitment.
You're gonna
Like
miss a lot of time with your family, friends,
Yeah.
and like you're gonna be out there roping a lot, and practicing a lot, and you're traveling a lot.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, especially like, you know, you set out for 4 years or whatever, and you know, and say you decided like, hey, I'm gonna go try it. It's extra hard for you in a sense because you can't go to some of the big ones, you know what I mean? To in the winter, you know what I mean? And if you can, like Steve was saying, he had it made by what do you say, like Reno or something. You know, if you were able to do that every time, you know, wouldn't that be like the best of both worlds to be able to spend the rest of the time with your family?
oh, that'd be amazing.
You know what I mean? Like that's golly, that's what's hard is Houston pays 50 or whatever. So you went
That's
to Houston.
Buddy Hawkins won Houston. He made it.
But this year's crazy though. Like 100,000 didn't make it, so it's like
true,
used
too.
to be like you win Houston, I got to win 15 more grand. Like anybody can do that, right? Now it's like I got to win 55 more grand.
That's why I mentioned Buddy Hawkins and,
Yeah.
and his partner. They come in with 128, I think. So
Yeah, 78,000.
so they won 50 of it, and they won 78. You know,
Wow.
regular season. So
Wow.
they made it fine. But if they didn't have Houston, it would have been tough. But
Yeah,
that's kind of how much it took. Usually, like I said, you win Houston.
they're pretty.
The last couple of years, that don't even. I mean, it helps a lot. It gets your
Yeah,
gets
sure.
your winner set
Real
up.
chance, yeah.
Then I've always even Big A's always said it. It starts halftime is Reno, but that's kind of when the real rodeo season starts for a guy like that, because he gets dialed in when he gets to go in every day.
Yeah.
And like he's rodeoing, like he's in it, like this guy gets nasty. You know what I mean? He gets to where he'll just turn these.
Derek does unbelievable stuff. I mean, Derek, Eric, Aaron, they're all amazing, like the roping dudes. But Derek's the one that I look at and I'm like, I don't know how he does that.
Derek's done good in the wintertime, like when I roped with him and stuff. But like he was just like, man, I want to go catch cows. I want to be out. I want to be home. And then you come Reno time, it's too freaking hot in Arizona.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gone.
I'm ready to rodeo. Like, I'm all about it now. He's all excited. He's over there, got a pep in his step over there at Reno and just bebopping around.
Yeah, it's 117 at home. Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
It's great over here. The sun's shining. It's awesome. It's beautiful weather. Like in the wintertime, it's raining over there in Texas. The weather sucks, and he's just sitting in. I don't like this, man. I want to be home right now. The weather's perfect.
75 and sunny.
Ice storm, you know what I mean? That was funny to see him. You know, the ice storms. I don't know if he's ever been around very many ice storms when he first started rodeoing, but he was pretty miserable in the wintertime in Texas. The ice storms.
Is there more rodeos now than there was when you were doing it, maybe 5-6 years ago?
Well, I think there's better rodeos. Obviously, there's better rodeos.
More money now.
Yeah, there's more money added into them. And there was
way more with 20,000 added. I feel like
I was still going. They were still fighting to get equal money to the team ropers. You know, you still go to rodeo and they'd still add half.
So tell me about like that 20,000 added deal. Is it okay? It's 20,000 added, but only a certain amount goes to the PRCA standings, or is all 20?
No, that's just your added money. So they just add that to the pot
just for the team roping or for the whole
and then they add that money
per event.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you say 20,000 added, it's every event and 40 in the team roping, 20 head or 20 healer, in a lot of places.
Oh, okay.
And then depending on how many teams they get, or contestants they get, that's adds to the pot. So you see like saddle bronc riders or team roping, they usually are got a little more money than the calf roper side of it.
Yeah, their fees are higher. Team roping pays better than the calf roping. Like a standard fee in like the calf roping, like if I go to Pace in the circuit rodeo, outside of day money, it will be $121. $21 goes to the PRCA for ProCom and whatever else.
Yeah.
And then 100 goes into the pot, which is like what's cooler about the PRCAs than amateur rodeos. Like in an amateur rodeo, they pull a lot out of your fees for stock charge and secretary and whatever. Mm-hmm. And not in the pro rodeos.
I wanted to talk real quick to both of you guys to see if I'm very interested about this. I was listening to Steve Kenyon podcast, and maybe you guys heard about this, the Mongolian race. I mentioned to you earlier, but have you ever heard about that?
No.
It's you have to listen. It's on Steve Kenyon's 8-Second Media, but he's a pickup man that just retired. He's a famous guy. I don't know his name, but he goes to Mongolia, and you ride 600 miles in I think 5 days, and you ride 4 different horses per day. So you're 25 miles each horse. Go to these stations and do. And it's so interesting and
like Hidalgo, but for real
Mongolian, so they'd be almost ponies, right?
Yeah, they look like ponies,
smaller, like
and some
looking things.
I love seeing stuff on Instagram about the Mongolians. I seen something the other day. They were passing around a freaking pig into like a
and then one guy would be running with an eagle on his arm, just be running down there, and then send it to go get a fox or a deer or something.
Like that's awesome.
Those Mongolians are cowboys without a rope.
And and you have to listen to it because the guy was like, man, he got beat by 2 girls, and he was a PRCA pickup man for 20 some years. I mean, tough as it gets, and he's like, some horses are, you go and they're buck you off. You got to like halfway train them and halfway ride them. And it's, I told Cesar I'm going to do it. He's like, you can't even show up and come rope with us. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'd say, Brandon, to start, if you can get through this day, maybe a week of hanging out with me and Tanner Baldwin over there. We start off at 4 a.m. We're riding colts, you know what I mean, when the sun's coming up.
I'm going to race.
We take a break when it gets a little hot, you know what I mean? Go have some lunch and then come back when it starts to cool off, which it's been hotter than hell. But like, if you can get through a day of riding with us,
you maybe have a chance.
Maybe you have a chance to get the Mongolian.
Dude, that would be so miserable.
And all that stuff, you know what I mean?
So one cool thing about it is at each of the little checkpoints, there's a vet there. So your horse can't have a bad heart rate. So you have to like calm your horse down before you get to the checkpoint. Because if your horse is like, about ready to die.
Like if you've just whooped him.
All the way.
25 miles.
Yeah. Like I got 3 more of you.
And then they'll not find you, but they'll make you sit back and give you like an hour.
Until the heart rate comes down or whatever.
Or like everybody else gets to take off and you have to wait an hour. So there's a lot of strategic to it, and it's just a cool thing. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it. It's Mongolia race, 600 miles in like
Dude.
5 days.
And that's all desert up there.
Oh, it's
in
all
the sand,
different.
yeah.
No, there's parts where it's cold as hell, and there's parts that it's really cool terrain. It's I'll send you the link. It's cool as hell. And then I've been on a rabbit hole, so I've watched all the YouTube videos about it, and it's super cool. And my wife's like, "Shut the fuck up, you ain't going."
I'm kind of like
ain't going.
with your wife on that. I'm with your wife on that one.
I was
I
like,
tell you, let's go over there. We'll go to Mongolia and we'll go
Check it out.
ride them horses
Yeah.
with the eagles. That's what I'm.
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
catch say anything, a rabbit or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Dude,
That
send
looks
a
cool.
golden eagle out like a hawk. Like,
Just have the furs on too. You know, what I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys always have like a jacket.
so
on,
he was
box-
saying that you
box size.
in the race you had to wear like these weird clothes, like they're tight, like almost like skinny jeans. So Ariat made him his own custom shit, and then he had his Resistol cowboy hat made because he had to have a helmet.
yeah.
So it's he wore the Jake Barnes looking one, kind of
Yeah.
like that, and I think it was like 50 people that started, and only I think 20 people finished the race. Because I mean, imagine riding 100 miles
Dude.
in any fucking horse,
Bro.
And the saddles are them
6
little
days?
saddles.
I've rode 8 before.
8
and that
miles?
was
Yeah.
a long ways.
It's a
100
long
miles and
They made them tougher back in the day. When you'd ride 25 miles, no big deal. Like, I've ridden, 5, 10, 15 miles a couple times. No.
Dude, it's
Hell no.
like you're sore after
Yeah,
that, right? Like
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
yes,
dude.
you're tired, you're thirsty, like you're wore out, like your back hurts, everything hurts.
that feedlot we had over there, Tanner's right behind was a big wash, and Tanner would make us like run these horses, like long trot them through the sand. Fuck. I was about had enough of that shit. I was like, I need a long trot. Fuck this, Tanner.
You're gonna have to do long
No.
trotting in Mongolia if you're
No.
trying to keep that horse's heart rate
fuck
down.
We'll
yeah.
both be dead over there.
That's the only way to go 25 miles. You're not loping them.
No.
You're just fucking long trotting out
And
through there.
2 women won first and second.
I bet it helps that they were a little bit lighter.
Yeah,
too.
probably.
I bet it helped the horse out a bit.
Yeah.
I bet they smelled good.
Oh, fuck. and so like at
We're
7
gonna date
o'clock
that
at
for
night,
sure.
wherever you're at 7 o'clock at night, they have little stations like trailers that they follow the group in. And so at that night at 7 o'clock, you just you put your horse up, get water, and then you can stay in that trailer. But if you want to win the race, then say you get to that station at 4 o'clock, you grab some food, switch horses, and you take off. Well, you got 3 hours until you have to stop. Well, you might be in the middle of nowhere at 7
Yeah.
o'clock. You have to stop where you're at, put a tent up, stake your horse, and wait there until 7 o'clock
You're
next morning.
camping.
Yeah, so
You're rodeoing.
yeah, there you go.
Like on Junior Bonner. You've ever watched that old movie? Dude just pulls over on the side of the road, pitches a tent.
Yeah, that's
right
how
in
it
the
is.
stream. That's cool.
He had to
I've had
find
to do
like
that a couple times.
people like the locals there. Like he rides over to their camp and hey, water, and they let him in, give him food, and it's a hell of a cool little. It's like 18 minutes long, but Steve Kenyon did a hell of an interview with it. Steve Kenyon.
That's
he's
cool. That's way cool.
I've I look up to people, and like in the podcast world, Steve Kenyon, I love his voice. I love that guy.
Rodeo announces pretty good too.
Yeah.
They do a
Yeah,
good
he
job.
doesn't do a bad job at all. Didn't they fire him from the Cowboy Channel and then hired him back? There
Some
was
shit like
I
that.
think
Yeah.
so.
Some shit like that.
The
But yeah,
Cowboy Channel's cool. It's changed. It is
big
changed
time blessing,
everything,
I
man.
think.
We talked about sponsors a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just going to help these rodeo guys out.
And I don't want to toot his horn because he don't like when I do this, but as when I was, I'm 38 years old. So when I was in my high school days, Cesar was making the finals, and he was my favorite healer by far. So that's the reason he's my co-host today. But you know what I mean. So he was my favorite healer, and he was so famous as he was during that. But imagine if he was in the heart of it now. You know what I mean?
I heard that you got like when you had your deal with Classic and you released the Nitro, that they sold so many of those ropes in Mexico and Brazil because they all liked you that you got like a cut off. Was that true?
Man, it was after one of my years at the NFR there, I would talk to Classic and ask them if I can, get a little more money on my contract. They said no. I had an offer from Cactus to get, it was $1 a rope.
Okay, that's
And
what I
they'd Give
heard.
me a bonus and then
Yeah.
you'd give me $1 a rope. And it wasn't so much Mexico, it was Brazil.
Yeah.
That
They
part
just
was
loved you
wild.
down there.
Yeah. I mean, I went down there 3 years when I was with Cactus and do roping clinics, and they were full and they were awesome. The people are great. I love Brazil, man. Like if I ever had to go to a different place, I'd go to Brazil. Like they love to rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got these little lores, they call them, that are bramers. And I love roping muleys. I love it when they hit the end hard and
Beller.
burn your hands and stuff like that. I love it. Can't get enough of it. And so I went over there and they dally twice. when they wreck shop over there. Like I love it. I mean, I got over there, I got excited. I was like, man, I could live here.
Yeah.
I could live right there in that little hut over there.
Yeah.
And just rope all day long.
Dude, is it hot as balls or is it
It's
nice?
humid.
Yeah.
It's a little bit jungle. So where I went was Goiânia, the town, and it is kind of next to Argentina.
Uh-huh.
So it's real pretty country and a lot of cattle, a lot of cowboys, and like
You met the
Awesome.
like king of the cattle, right?
he just passed away, João
yeah?
Sergio Senior, and shout out to him. He was a great guy.
Yeah.
He's wanted me to come over and check it out, and I got to spend a lot of time with João Sergio Jr. And they had feedlots all, so it was like a chain all through the North America, all the way down South America and Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. So Goiânia, that town that I went to, I got to see a feedlot of 40,000 Lolores, and they were gray. It looked like an ocean of Bramers and like cattle. It was
Dude,
awesome.
40,000.
And he said that was a small, it was kind of a nice feedlot, and they feed him good because, he lives in the town. He goes to restaurants all the time. So he wants, when he goes in town, he wants to eat a good steak. So he does a good job with that. They said this is one of my smaller feedlots, and
It's just for the town. Like,
yeah, he says I got $100,000 or 100,000 cattle operation feedlots, in Rio de Janeiro and these things.
That's amazing.
And they breed them, or they want big as fast as they can get. That's why the Raymer, and they kind of handle the humidity, the heat, and then and they don't cut them. They want them bulls, like they want to grow as fast as they can. And I asked them why.
So do they slaughter them as bulls, or do they?
Yep. They'll do it every now and again. They cut them every now and again for like it's specialty, but for the most part, and all the feedlots are bulls, and they want them. They said,
dude,
in the
A
States,
feedlot full of Bramer bulls, like you better be a cowboy to handle that kind of ignorance,
oh,
dude.
yeah.
Some big
They
fences.
ride a lot of mules too
Yeah.
out there for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
And that's what you roped on, right?
Yeah.
You rope on a horse or just mules?
Oh, horses too. The horses were really, really nice, but the mules, I was just so impressed. I'd never roped a mule that was that broke, that can slide.
That's so cool.
And it was awesome.
Mules are so ignorant too.
They said that they couldn't take it to the pro rodeos and stuff like that because it would overwork. If the calf was strained, she would overwork, and she would stretch pull too much, and they got the same kind of rule over there.
Yeah, like a drag fine or
a
whatever.
drag fine. It is short. It's like 3 feet over there. Like there's animal rights activists big time over there. And so this mule, when they would strain, the sucker would just wreck them and just pull, and then until they quit kicking, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was really cool. And that's kind of it was one of my best sponsors I had back in the day, and I got to go
because there's lots of ropers down there, tens of thousands.
Yeah,
lots. Like I don't know the exact number, but their ropings will have a couple hundred teams, and
it's legit.
World Series type setups over there. Like they got rodeos, but they got to be careful about the animal rights activist stuff over there.
That's wild to me that there is a lot of animal rights activists in Brazil, because like you think about like the Mexican rodeos and stuff, and I'm just kind of lumping all the Latin culture together. Like they don't really give a shit in Mexico.
Not two shits at all.
No.
I mean, Brandon, we taking some steers to the tailings.
I used to do it all during COVID.
Yeah,
I did every Mexican rodeo, anything backyard. They needed cattle, I'd bring.
You wouldn't believe how many Mexican rodeos are up and down this little rodeo right here.
I'm sure there's a ton.
Tanner was like, "Where are we going?" Like, Rancho El Panama. Wasn't your nitro rope one of the top sellers in history or something?
For
like that?
cactus ropes, it was the best seller. At one point, it sold more ropes than any rope cactus ever sold. I don't know what it is here recently, but
do they still make it?
Nope. I don't know if they did or not. Or not. It was. I think they changed it with what it was before the core. And I've had a few issues with the rope, and especially in the summertime, trying to get my ropes out stiff.
Yeah.
And they didn't feel very good. But when they started putting a core in the ropes,
when Classic ran out of the patent.
That's kind of why I don't know if it's the same now, but. I went on when Trevor Brazil was coming through his line of ropes and stuff like that, and I sold more ropes than Trevor, so I was kind of
hell yeah.
And it was a good rope, but the Brazilians liked it because they like to head with it over there. When they make the ropes a little bit bigger around for the because they rope a lot of muleys.
Yeah,
you don't see the very small type head ropes over there.
Okay,
they're bigger, they're fulls. You know what I mean? They're almost like a heel rope. Like I don't know if you ever felt a soft or medium soft. Rope, right? They're like that's what they head with over there, because they use a bigger loop. The rope muleys, their heads, the Bramers' heads are huge. I don't know.
Yeah, long fuckers.
Yeah, man, they're like a horse's head, so they use a big loop, and it's kind of cool how they rope. And those guys like it helped me to explain it too. Doing roping clinics and stuff now, like to rope the neck. you don't rope the neck. You rope the shoulders. They said you rope the hump.
Yeah.
You put the bottom strand, or where you hold your rope. You put that right there where the hump is at. You put that part of the rope on the hump. The top strand will just. Yeah. If you try to rope the neck, you rope the horns because their nose is so long.
Yeah.
So it was really cool over there, and I got to hang out with them guys that broke a lot of the horses and stuff like that. And there were some really good hands. They do it every day.
I know that there's like some sort of regulations about like the genetics they can import like from the AQHA. Yeah. Like they got nice horses.
My horse is one of them. My horse went to Brazil for like 6 years as a stud and did his thing, and then came back to the States, and then they cut him. But he had to do like what's the before I owned him?
Yeah.
But he had to do a bunch of like winning here to be eligible to go over there.
Yeah.
He had to win like $500,000 or something. And then he was over there and he bred a bunch of horses. They brought him back.
That's cool. That's how you get good genetics right there.
Yeah.
That's telling you some of the very best horses are in Brazil. I kid you not.
Dude, guys can calf rope down there too. I know they can team rope. They can calf rope in Brazil. Like it's ranked. Awesome. Like Marcos, like junior calf rope's amazing. Yeah. And obviously Marcos come over here, won a world championship. But there's more than them. You know what I mean? There's lots more.
I like how they train horses over there. They do a really good job about training the calf horses.
Yeah.
They slide real pretty. Because them horses, they need a little more help. But them Bramers are big over there, rope calves, and they're kind of nasty. So like,
they're athletic.
They need the help of the horse as much.
They slide pretty, but they finish hard.
Yeah, well, like they get them to bid up real pretty when they're stepping off. They bid up at the pole just enough right there where their hind end hits, and then like I said, you talked about Haven Medge's horses, how they pull real strong. Them horses, they teach them that really good over there because them calves are big, and like. If they can get them suckers to pull just a little bit, then Bramers will jump up in their hands. You know what I mean? They love that stuff. So like it's cool. Like, and the horses got a really cool timing right there too. How them guys will step off them right there and they'll slide real pretty. And as soon as that guy's foot hits the ground, them suckers are pulling. Like it's awesome.
Getting back.
It's awesome. It's like stepping off a curb though, right? You see some calf horses that are they get real low. Yeah. It seems like it's really it's uncomfortable for them guys to step off, and it's almost like, they're a little off balance, you know what I mean? And that they don't get that good send. And like them horses like that got that good finish right there, and let them just step off right there and then finish. Them guys 1-2 steps are already at the calf. Like we mentioned Haven, that's how his horses do it.
Yeah.
Like he's staying in the stirrup, and as soon as his foot
that's why Shad is that's why Shad's so fast. I mean, he's fast for a lot of reasons. Yeah. Like he's an athlete, he ropes great, but his horses help him a lot. Like
awesome horses, right?
Yeah, he doesn't mess around. He rides great horse flesh, like all the top guys do, right? Like, but it's a team event. Like,
who's your favorite calf roper or somebody you kind of like to watch? And like, you notice what kind of bit that they kind of? I'm sure you notice what bit they ride.
Oh yeah, a lot. And like, if it's one of mine that somebody's riding at the finals, they're gonna video them from the top of the headstall up, and then if it's one of Gordy's, it's gonna be right on the TV, and I'm like, fuck, Gordy, like no, but Gordy sells a lot of bits to calf ropers. Like he's made a point of it. He's got bits to Joe B and Fred and Cody, and that's just kind of trickled down to all them guys throughout the years. He's definitely like that's the most common in like the elite calf roping world is to have a Gordy, and of course they have everything. They have Kerry Kelly's and Petskas and whatever else. Like, but yeah, lots of Gordy bits.
What's out of the top 15? Who's your pick this year? I mean, of course, the guys that are on top, but I'm saying not necessarily your pick to win the world because that's going to be the certain
who has the best finals, right?
I mean, like who's your favorite out of all of them? I mean, who are you rooting for? It could be anybody. I mean,
yeah, I don't have a lot of allegiances to anybody making the top 15 this year. Like, it would be cool to see Shad like finally have a good finals because like there's no reason he shouldn't, right? Like that's his setup and. I mean, I know he won the world when it was in Texas and stuff. He had such a huge lead, but he's had his struggles at the finals. And
that's a hard place to rope,
dude.
Some guys, do good over there.
But you would think, like, who ties him the fastest? Shad. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do at the finals? You got to tie him the fastest. And yeah, but anyway, he struggled over. So I think it'd be cool to see him do good. You got to root for Riley Webb. Like he does stuff the right way. He's a dude. He's humble. He's nice, and he's an animal. Like. I like Riley a lot. I think he's cool.
Yeah, great.
This is King K country around here.
Yeah,
King K Henry.
We've done Kincaid a couple times in the podcast.
This is King K country.
That's cool. Yeah. I don't know Kincaid at all, but he's a roping some bitch.
Good guy, man. He's a good guy. I like him a lot.
He's family around here.
Same thing. He's humble as well.
Yeah. We've been on the podcast twice, and since he's been on the podcast, I always follow those guys, and I watched him this last year and this year, and he's an animal too, man.
We're gonna have him
Dude,
schedule it again
man.
for number 3.
Yeah.
Dude, Kincaid's ranked.
Yes.
A lot of them Texans. That's calf roping country. All them
Yeah.
Texans are ranked roping calves. But it's funny how you said you're a Kincaid fan. He's been on the podcast. So like somebody will ask me, like, hey, have you ever heard of Joe Schmo from Missouri? I'm like, oh yeah, dude, great guy. He's bought a bit.
Yeah.
I have no idea. He might be a total
Yeah.
asshole.
Bought a bit. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he might be a total
He's gonna be a
asshole.
world champ someday.
Like, yeah, dude, I've never talked to this guy. He messaged me on Instagram. I built the bit. I shipped it. He paid for it. I fucking love this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's good people as far as I'm concerned.
That's fine. That's fine.
Before we go, I think I don't know, Cesar might have more, but I have one of the last original Nitro special edition Caesaronies.
Yep.
There's only made them for Cesar. The rope at the tail, it says Caesaroni on it.
That's
And,
cool.
It was right there before they got the name of Nitro. That's
Oh, that was before Nitro?
that was the test
Oh.
rope
Like,
before
okay.
they come out with the
Shit.
official Nitro.
Well, I'll sell it to, anybody who wants it.
Highest bidder.
They made about 50 of them ropes.
I know, so that makes a value. It's like Pete Rose dying. That card worth a little bit more money.
Yeah.
And I used about 25 of them. Like
So I
they were
might
all
have-
test ropes, and like they were like I used.
So there's a good chance I might have the only one brand
I
new
got
one.
about
Whoever
3
runs
now.
the Caesar De La Cruz fan club, like
Yeah,
they
let's
can
see how
buy
much
that.
it's
They
worth.
can hang it on the wall. Like,
Special edition.
yeah, it's worth at least like they go for 55 now. You
Yeah.
at least get $78 for
They-
that thing.
a couple of times I was like, man, that thing would be nice. And I was like, no, just leave it in there. Leave it in there.
leave
The
it-
science of making a rope, it's harder than a person thinks. So when they pick up a rope and it feels like shit, you throw it down. It's
You-
like, I mean, it's harder
You,
than a
you,
person.
you tour them
understands.
factories and you come out impressed. Like, and everybody says like the secret is like keeping your wax even. And
Yeah,
I mean,
they
I'm
start
sure
out with
there's
just a little strand. You
Yeah.
can take the tail of your rope and look at one strand,
And
and that's what they start. They got about
Yeah.
100 of them little strands. They wind it up to make a rope. You know what I mean?
and it's weird how different they can make them feel.
They make backswing. They can
Yeah.
like there was the shops run 24 hours a day. These rope shops because they can't keep enough ropes on the racks, especially
Yeah.
in wintertime and Vegas coming up.
Yeah.
Like, they can't keep enough ropes on the racks, NRS and all these
Yeah.
places. So what they'll do is they run 24 hours a day. And so the older type of rope tires, the guys that know what they're doing, and they'll do the night shift, and then say Colin Von Ong needs a little more backswing in his rope. Those guys will make it, and it's like tuning a guitar. Like they just kind of little tuning here and there with the machine, and bam, it'll make a little backswing.
that's cool.
And like the
Same.
big sponsor guys can get like
Yeah.
they can call, fast. You can call Fastback, be like, hey, I like this a little bit more in my ropes, and
Yeah.
they'll do it. That's cool.
And like Tyler Wade can get a 33-foot rope. You know what I mean? Special ordered, and he wants it tied a certain
I know
way.
they were spinning 34s for Gordo. That Fastback was. that
There-
dude throws so far.
You can get different types of stuff, but like that's another thing you're gonna get into a sponsorship. The rope companies are probably gonna be your first one when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, they're gonna give you discounts on ropes, and then what I mean, that's gonna help out. But it's like golfing; it's part of the equipment. That'll be the first sponsorship. So advice to a young kid wanting to get sponsors: use the social media as much as possible. Try to tag the sponsor that you want to, and then you're gonna have to kind of send a resume in and kind of let them know, and get your name on the board there. If you're not it helps if you're winning.
Yeah. It all starts with winning. Winning makes everything better,
And-
right? In everything.
And this is kind of like left field, but this is some real talk right here. Some of them, guys, ropers, and them real 8s, 9s, 10 healers like that, if they see a guy that owns a trucking company or any kind of company that's a 4, 3 or whatever, pretty smart to buddy up with that guy, maybe become his friend, like help him out a little bit, show him some love, do some roping lessons with him and stuff like that. And I think that those relationships are just as reliable as, some of these big time sponsors. I'm not saying, you got to go hang out with the guy, but you know what I mean? Like if you can buddy up with somebody that it's a win-win for both of you. I mean, they think highly of that,
Yeah,
These
absolutely.
clinics are
big
awesome.
time. They help a bunch.
They
with
help
that.
me out.
People want to help guys going down the
Yeah.
road. And like as a dude who owns a business who gets asked for sponsorships, like these young kids have to reciprocate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's so huge for my business. So like, I sponsor Denton and Little Michael, and I'll give them some free product. It's not a great sponsorship, but they're happy. I'm happy. But they'll send me videos and I'll make these reels out of them. Dude, I'll get like 50, 100,000 views with these reels. And I'll throw my logo on top of it. Like,
Advertising.
Yeah.
dude, that's great. Like that's something for me.
Yes.
But then you ask me for a sponsorship. I patch you up, I give you some free stuff. You never send me any videos. Like it's cool that people see my patch, but like you got to do a little bit more. Like, and it's not a lot to ask to send videos, or you make your own reels and tag your sponsors. Like you can see the guys who are good at it. Like Wesley Thorpe's he tags everybody.
Develop a relationship with
He's
your sponsors.
posting all of his runs because it's all about content. It's all about eyeballs on the product.
Absolutely.
Right.
But just little stuff like that. I think that there's so much more to like the rodeo game now. Like we were talking, after big wins, you got to learn how to talk in front of these cameras now. There's the Cowboy Channel with the fucking microphone you're made. You got to be able to,
talk real good today.
I've had it a lot.
You know what I mean? So there's more to it. If you're going to be an elite roper, well, you're going to have to learn how to talk and be in front of people.
That's why I mentioned
you got to sell yourself, dude.
That's why I mentioned Patrick Smith, man. He's really good about that. He's really articulate, and he can be around, multi-millionaire, billionaires, and he can kind of halfway talk to him. They buddy up with him a little bit. And he develops a good relationship, and he has guys like that. Hey, I need 50,000 to go rodeo. Sure, buddy, no problem at all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because to them, it's like asking me for $50. You know what I mean? Like,
he's already developed a relationship with the guy in a year before. He asked. It wasn't like he just showed up and said, "Hey, I need 50,000 to go rodeo."
Yeah,
he's developed this relationship years in advance and stuff like that. So whenever he gets in a jam, this guy's been looking for the opportunity to
hey, dude,
help him out.
My truck blew up. I'm in Fallon, Nevada. Can you help?
Yeah. And you know what I mean? Them guys will send a pickup. They'll send a trailer. They'll do things like that for you. And that's, you got to have that community.
Got to have the help.
It's not just money backing you. You know what I mean? You got to have people too helping you out. There's going to be times of 4th of July, you're going to need some family member, somebody to help you drive. Big A.
Yeah, send a second rig or something.
Big A always had cousins.
It
was awesome. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How many Big A's have you met, dude?
Big A's and Yazzies are amazing. You'll get Yazzies that are, I'm related to Derek.
Oh, yeah.
You're not a Big A, but I'm a Yazzie. I'm on
his mom's side. On the other side.
I'm on his mama's side.
Every single time somebody comes by and say that's a native, I'll always ask them, do you know? Oh, yeah, we know him. His cousin lives right down the road. Or, I always act as I always talk to him.
Yeah. James Arvizo, that dude's head.
He's the next. He looks just like Derek.
It is so smart, so disciplined. Yeah.
He's a great kid too. He's always been smart like that. But before we finish, I want you to give everybody like information about how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All kinds of the Facebooks and stuff. How do they do that?
Yeah, look me up on social media. It's TM Bits and Spurs, just like my initials, TM Bits and Spurs. And it's on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My website is tmbitsandspurs.com. Pretty easy. And my phone number's all over all that. Easiest way to get a hold of me, call me, text me. I'll respond to emails, social media messages, whatever. So like whatever you want to do, I'm easy to get a hold of. It's easier to sell bits that way.
Yeah, and I think if you're gonna buy a bit from somebody. It's ropes. Buy a rope. If you're gonna rope, buy a bit from a roper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You buy a tractor from a farmer.
There you go.
We got a couple for sale. So.
That's what it's all about. Well, thank you, Tristan. Appreciate it so much.
Appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
That's a wrap.
Good one right there.